Good day, everyone, and welcome to our Imali Zam family conversation. Today, we are doing something a little different. We're not starting with slides, definitions, or a lecture. We are inviting you into a normal household conversation, the kind many of us know we should have, but often delay because it feels a little bit uncomfortable. Before we begin, let's agree on a few guidelines for today's conversation. Your camera and microphone have been disabled for this webinar. Should you wish to make any questions or to provide us with any questions during the session, please submit them using the Q&A button on the toolbar. A recording of the webinar will be shared with you after the event. I'm Yolanda. This is my husband, Evan, and these are our children. Sergio, our eldest, who's 35 years old, Monique, who is still studying, and Chanel, who's still in school. Around this table, as you can see, we have different ages, different money pressures, and different levels of understanding. That is why it's important that we have this conversation.
And I think that is the first honest point. In many families, money is discussed only when something has already gone wrong. Someone gets sick, someone passes away, someone loses a job, a child needs help. A debt becomes urgent, then suddenly everyone is asking, where are the documents? Who do we phone? What benefits do we have? And what was the plan?
And by then, people are already under emotional pressure, right? They're not calmly looking for answers. They are panicking, phoning around, opening cupboards, searching emails, trying to remember passwords.
That sounds traumatic, but it's also real. I've seen friends at university whose families went through difficult moments, and the stress was not only about money, it was also about not knowing what to do next.
So this is like a family emergency plan, but for money.
Exactly, Chanel. It is not about telling every person in the household every single private detail. It is about making sure that if life happens, the people who depend on you are not completely lost.
A few months ago, I had a health scare. I ended up in hospital, and for a moment, everyone had to think about practical things, not just my medical things. My wife was worried about me, but she was also trying to work out where the important documents were and who would know what to do if something became serious.
And that is so true. I knew a lot about our household, but I didn't know much about my husband's work benefits. I didn't know much about the exact contact points where all the documents were stored or whether the latest information was properly updated. My husband had always handled certain things in the household, and I always thought that if something happens, I'd be able to figure it out.
And I had assumed because I knew all the details as the husband of the house, the family was covered. But that is not the same thing. If something happens to the person who knows everything, the knowledge disappears at the exact moment the family needs it most.
This is where I want to bring in something important. There's a difference between financial privacy and financial secrecy. Privacy means you don't have to disclose every salary detail, every bank balance, personal decision to everyone. Secrecy, however, means the family cannot act when there's a genuine emergency.
So, for example, a spouse or partner may not need every single transaction record, but they should know where the retirement fund information is kept, who to contact at HR or payroll, whether there is a financial advisor, and where ID documents, certificates are stored, and whether beneficiary nominations have been reviewed.
Yes, and for families, that can be a very respectful conversation. You can sit down and say, this is what you need to know if something happens to me. This is what remains private, and this is where the important information is stored.
But why do people avoid talking about it?
Sweetie, talking about money can become very emotional. It can bring up fear, judgment, shame, pride, responsibility, and even conflict in some families. Some person may say, I do not want to worry the family. Sometimes another person says, I'm not good with numbers. So I would rather not deal with it. Sometimes parents think Children should not know anything about money.
But silence does not protect the family, not at all. But instead, silence creates confusion. We're not saying that children need to know every private detail again. We're just saying families should know enough to respond when there is a crisis.
Let's make it practical. Imagine a member passes away and the family does not know who the beneficiaries are, where the benefit statement is, or who to contact. The family is grieving, but now they're also trying to reconstruct basic information.
Or imagine a spouse does not know where the retirement fund information is. They may not know whether there is retirement fund benefits, risk benefits, or who the employer contact person is.
And the issue is not only death. What if a member becomes seriously ill? What if there is a divorce? What if someone changes a job and has to decide what to do with their retirement savings? What if someone retires earlier than expected?
And that is why we are now sitting you guys down as members of our family and having this crisis reality conversation. So before we talk about forms and decisions, we need to admit that families need a plan before the crisis.
We would like to bring everyone online into the conversation. A quick anonymous poll should appear on your screens right now. The question is, who holds the keys in your house? Option A, one person does everything, and if they are unavailable, the family is in trouble. Or option B, the load is shared with one person paying the bills and another keeping documents. Or option C, complete chaos. Documents are searched for only when a crisis hits.
Guys, no one can see your name. It's okay to be honest.
And if your answer is complete chaos, do not feel bad. Many families are there. The point is to move from chaos to readiness.
So with all the questions coming through, thank you very much for your responses. No matter which option you selected, the reality is that most families can benefit from being a little more prepared. Readiness is not about having everything figured out. It's about making sure the right information is available to the right people when they need it.
So what changed for me after my health scare? We decided to create a simple family readiness plan, not a thick file that no one would read, a practical checklist, whom to contact, where documents are stored, which benefits exist, and what information must be kept updated.
That plan includes employer contact details, HR or payroll details, the fund or member number, beneficiary nomination form, copies or locations of your ID documents, marriage and birth certificates, and also financial advisor details.
It also includes digital access. Where are documents saved? Is there a safe folder? Does the right person know where to find it? Are passwords kept securely? You don't want a crisis to become a scavenger hunt.
So we are not saying everyone must know everything. We are saying the family must know where the map is.
100% Chanel. I can't stress this enough. A family money conversation is not about exposing every private detail. It's about protecting the people you love from confusion when they're already dealing with a very difficult situation.
I have one question for every person watching. If something happened tonight, would your family know who to contact, where to find the key documents, and what information is current? If the answer is no, that is the conversation to start in your home.
Now that we have spoken about crisis readiness, let's talk about another kind of crisis, separate kind of crisis, financial pressure. Sometimes, nothing dramatic happens from the outside, but inside the household, everyone is under pressure. Debt is high, fees are due, repairs are urgent, and someone is expected to make a plan.
I already know where this is going.
Of course you do, Sergio, because this happened recently in our family. Evan was changing jobs, and at the same time, a few household pressures landed together.
It was one of those months where everything seemed urgent. I was moving between employers, And suddenly my retirement savings felt like money could solve everything.
Yeah.
I thought I can cash out, clear some debt, help Sergio with his car, assist Monique with her fees, and breathe again.
And from my side, my car engine packed up. I used my car for work, so it didn't feel like a luxury problem. It felt urgent. I was stressed and I was hoping Dad would find a way to assist.
My tuition and campus costs were also due. I knew mom and dad were already trying to feel guilty for asking, but the deadline was real.
And I suppose normal household costs do not just stop because there is a crisis.
Exactly. Groceries, transport, school needs, municipal bills, medical costs. I mean, the list goes on. These are all family obligations, they continued. These are the pressure points that make retirement savings look like emergency account.
And in that moment, cashing out felt like the responsible thing to do. I told myself I was helping my family. I even called it a super dad move. But we had to ask harder questions. If I use long-term retirement money to solve short-term pressures, who pays the price later?
And the honest answer is the whole family pays. If mom and dad reach retirement without enough savings, then we, the children, may have to become the retirement plan.
That's a heavy thought because when you are young, you might not only see the urgent need, you might think my parents have retirement money, so why can't they assist me? But if that is their money, retirement money, using it now can create a bigger family burden later. And I sure don't want to carry that burden.
This is where families need to understand preservation. Retirement savings are not just another pot of money. They are meant to provide income one day when the member is no longer working. The earlier you withdraw from your retirement savings and the more often you withdraw, the less time that money has to grow.
And if you are closer to retirement, there is less time to rebuild. If I was in my 20s, I would still need to think carefully.
Yeah.
But when you are closer to retirement, the decisions become even more serious.
Dad, when you explained compound growth to me, I finally understood that the loss is not only the amount withdrawn, it's also the future growth on that amount that disappears.
Finally, something has landed.
Finally.
This is something I really like to talk about. Let me explain to everyone who wasn't part of our conversation. Compound growth is when your money earned grows and then that growth also start earning growth. Let me make an example. You have 100 Rand today. You save it by an interest of 10%. At the end of that year, you will have 110 Rand. You reinvest that same 110 Rand. After year 2, it becomes 121 Rand. The extra 11 Rand growth in year 2 is because of compound interest. And that is where the greatest opportunity lies.
Correct. And the Sanlam Benchmark survey tells us something very important. Many South Africans are already unsure whether they are truly on track with their retirement. Only about half of respondents believed they were on track with their retirement savings, while nearly 1 in 4 said they were not sure. That uncertainty tells us that many people can't afford to lose valuable retirement savings through unnecessary withdrawals. The survey also found that about 3 in 10 people who have not yet retired do not have the emergency fund to fall back on. When emergencies happen, people without a savings buffer are much more likely to look at their retirement savings as the solution.
And that is exactly why I had to stop. Think before cashing out. It might have solved today's problems, but it would have reduced money available for future growth. Once retirement savings leave the fund, it loses the opportunity to benefit from compound interest, where your money works for you.
Now I get it. Like Sergio said, it's not only about the amount you withdraw today you lose, it's also about the future growth that amount could have generated for many years.
That's correct.
The benchmark research also shows that when people leave employment, cashing out their retirement fund is still one of the biggest instincts, even though most members know that it will negatively impact their retirement outcome. In other words, when people often understand the risk, but short term pressure still wins.
That's why having an emergency fund, getting advice, and talking openly with family about financial pressures is so important. The less pressure we put on our retirement savings today, the better we of having financial security tomorrow.
Can we also talk about family pressure because sometimes the member is not acting alone. The whole family might be asking for help.
That's such an important point you've raised there, Monique. Often talk about financial decisions as if they made in isolation. In reality, many decisions are influenced by family expectations. A parent may feel the need to support an adult child, like Sergio wanting assistance with his broken car. A spouse may feel the responsibility to look after the household. And a family member that's working may feel the responsibility or the need to look after extended family members. So saying no can feel a little bit selfish at times.
I felt that when Sergio needed my help, Monique needed my support. I didn't want to say I need to protect my retirement first. But when my wife helped me see that protecting retirement is not selfish, it is responsible.
At first, I did not love hearing it. I was thinking about my car. But when we unpacked it, I understood. If Dad solved my problem by creating a future problem for himself, I was not really being helped. I was just moving the pressure into the future.
We also had to separate needs from timelines. Some needs could be urgent, some were important but could be planned for, and some support could be partial, and some support needed another solution.
But Dad, what did you do instead of cashing out?
Sweetie, there's a few things that we considered. First, we looked at the numbers honestly. Then we separated emergency needs from nice to haves. After, we explored alternative before touching retirement savings. And lastly, we agreed that preserving in this house would be the default option unless there's no other reasonable solution.
And for Sergio's car, we looked at whether the repairs could be phased, whether he could contribute towards the repairs of his own vehicle, or whether there was a cheaper temporary transport option available. And we also looked at what amount that was realistic that we could assist him with as a family before damaging our long-term savings.
It wasn't the answer I wanted at first, but it gave me responsibility. I had to make a plan too, since I'm also working.
For my fees, we contacted the institution early, checked payment arrangements, and looked at what could be prioritized. It did not make the problem disappear, but it reduced the panic.
And as a household, we sat down, we spoke about it, we spoke about emergency savings. A retirement fund should not be the first emergency fund. Families need some emergency savings outside retirement savings, even if it starts small.
That is easier said than done, especially when households are under pressure. But even the modest emergency buffer can change behavior. It reduces the temptation to use long-term savings for every crisis.
Let us ask everyone watching, what is the one type of pressure that makes families want to use retirement savings?
Is it debt, school fees, helping adult children, medical costs, home repairs, unemployment, or something else? You can place a word or phrase in the chat.
And while those responses come through, let's be clear. No one is judging. Financial pressure is real. The conversation is about slowing down before making a permanent decision for a temporary crisis.
Now that phrase is definitely worth repeating, my dear son. Do not make a permanent decision for a temporary crisis. If you withdraw your retirement savings, the impact can last far longer than the emergency itself.
The practical family question today is, what other options we have explored before touching retirement money? Can we negotiate payment terms? Can the family share the burden differently? Can an adult child contribute? Can we reduce expenses? Can we use emergency savings? Can we get proper advice before making a decision?
And children, especially adult children, also need to be part of that honesty. We can't expect parents to sacrifice their entire future every time we face a pressure.
At the same time, parents can explain the why instead of just saying no. When mom and dad explained that preserving the retirement fund protects us too, the decision made more sense.
So, preserving is not only about the person retiring, it is about the future stability of the whole family.
Exactly. I love that my children get this. When a member protects retirement savings, they are protecting future dignity of the family, future independence, and future family relationships.
So our takeaway today is family pressure must be discussed openly, but it must not automatically override long-term retirement savings. Before cashing out or withdrawing, pause, ask for guidance, understand the consequences, and involve the family in a responsible conversation.
Can I ask about something else? Last week, you and Dad were talking about a form and it sounded serious. Was that also part of this family money plan?
Yes, Chanel, that was the beneficiary nomination form. It is one of the simplest documents to update, but it is often ignored. It can create confusion once ignored. It can create delays and conflict at the death of a family member.
Let me use myself as an example. Before mom and I got married, I had complete old beneficiaries. Life changed, we got married, we had you guys. Responsibilities changed. But I did not want to review the form as regularly as I should have, and I did not update my beneficiaries.
That's probably common. People complete a form when they join an employee or fund, then forget about it for years.
And a form completed 10 years ago tells a historical story about your life, right? But if what you want when something happens, if something happens to you today, you want your information to reflect your current family circumstances as far as possible.
But if Dad told us what he wants, is that not enough?
That's a very dangerous misconception, dear. Verbal promises can create expectations, but they do not replace proper forms, proper processes, or legal requirements that apply to different types of benefits.
Let us unpack this carefully. In retirement funds, there can be approved fund benefits and there can be unapproved risk benefits depending on the retirement fund arrangement. The process for payment is not always the same. That is why members should understand what benefits they have in place and keep their nomination information updated.
Can we explain approved and unapproved in normal language, please?
Certainly. In simple terms, approved benefits are benefits that form part of the retirement fund arrangement and are subject to the rules and legal framework that apply to retirement funds. When a death benefit is payable from the fund, the trustees must consider legal dependence and relevant circumstances. The nomination form is quite important, but it is not the only factor.
On the other hand, unapproved benefits are usually separate risk benefits arranged outside the approved retirement fund structure, often through an insurance policy. For these benefits, the nomination form play a more direct role in who receives the benefit, depending on the policy terms and the employer's arrangement.
So, for approved fund benefits, the trustees do not simply pay whoever is named on the form without looking at who the dependents are and what the circumstances are.
That's correct. The trustees have a responsibility to investigate and make a fair allocation in line with applicable legal requirements. They will look at dependents, nominees, and relevant facts. That is why outdated information can slow things down and it can create frustration.
And for unapproved benefits, if a nomination is outdated, the money may go to someone the member no longer intended to benefit.
And that is a big risk. Imagine I had an old partner listed and never updated my nomination form.
Imagine.
Even if I had verbally told Monique that I wanted to help her one day, the old paperwork could create confusion and unintended consequences.
So the form is not just about admin, it is a family protection tool.
That's exactly how we should see it. Updating a beneficiary nomination is not only a compliance task, it's an act of clarity. It helps the people left behind understand your current intentions and helps the process move with better information.
Makes sense, yes. But is that the only way to update beneficiaries?
No, not exactly, not actually. The completed form is a standard procedure when joining the Sanlam Umbrella Fund. However, there's an easier, more convenient way to update the form or the beneficiaries rather, and that is used via the Sanlam Portfolio app or using the member portal.
You can also update your beneficiaries as and when needed, or when there's a life-changing event.
So, what are the life events that could trigger a review of beneficiaries?
There are many triggers, I can name a few. You get married, a divorce, separation, remarriage, birth of a child, and adoption of a child, death of a dependent or nominee, a child becoming financially dependent on you, a new person becoming financially dependent on you, a major change in the family responsibility, even changing jobs. Even if none of those happen, a yearly review of your nomination forms is a very good habit.
I would add, when you make a big verbal promise to someone in the family, if you say one thing but never update anything, you are creating conditions for a dispute.
That's exactly, Sergio. Family remembers conversations differently. One person says, Dad promised me this. Another says, but I was financially dependent. One will say the form says something totally different. And that is how conflict starts in families.
This is why we say do not leave your family to interpret promises. Keep your information updated, keep documents accessible, make sure your spouse or trusted person knows the process and the contact points.
We have a second quick poll for everyone online. When last did you review your beneficiary nomination? Option A, in the past 12 months. Or option B, more than a year ago. Or option C, I cannot remember. Or option D, I'm not sure whether I have one.
I think option C might win.
And if it does, that is exactly why the session matters.
Thank you for your responses coming through. If you are unsure, please do not feel embarrassed. Rather, treat this as your prompt to go back and check. After today, your action is simple. Review your beneficiary details, update them when necessary, and make sure your family knows where the important information is kept.
Can we also explain that beneficiary nominations should not be used to avoid difficult conversations? If someone is financially dependent on you, or if you have responsibilities in different parts of your family, those realities matter.
Yes, Sergio. Sensitive conversation should be handled respectfully, but avoiding them can create bigger problems. If you have a spouse, a minor child, adult dependents, children from a previous relationship, or someone else relying on you totally, the family picture can be complex. The goal is not to argue around the table. The goal is to keep information current and get guidance if needed.
Dad, the beneficiary nomination form is one of the things that you said should be included in our family readiness plan. Why is it so important?
I cannot stress the importance of the forms. When something unexpected happens, families often don't know where to start. Having key information organized and easy to find can make a difficult situation much more easier to navigate.
Absolutely. A family readiness checklist isn't about expecting the worst. It's about being prepared. One of the greatest gifts you can leave your loved ones with is a family that knows exactly what to expect when unexpected situations happen. They won't have to struggle to find answers when they need them most.
I understand why this can cause fights. If people are already sad and stressed, unclear documents can just make everything worse.
And that's why these conversations protect relationships. They may feel awkward now, but they prevent bigger conflict later.
Now, I'd like us to close this discussion with three key messages. The first, update your beneficiary nomination after major life events and review it regularly. Second, understand that approved and unapproved benefits may follow different processes, so know what benefits you have. Third, do not rely on verbal promises or old paperwork to reflect your current family situation.
And if there's one practical action from today's conversation, it is this. Before the end of the week, check your beneficiary details and make sure a trusted family member or partner knows where the important information and documents are kept.
I think that's a good place for us to pause, Dad. This conversation started off by preparing for life's uncertainties, but it's also shown me that financial planning isn't only about money, it's about making things easier for the people who matter most.
Exactly, Monique. Being financially prepared isn't about retirement one day. It's about protecting your family, creating options for your future, and making sure important decisions aren't left until a crisis forces them.
I know I still have a long way to go in my working journey, but today's conversation reminded me that the small decisions I make now can have a big impact later. The sooner I start planning, preserving my savings, the better I'll be positioned in the future.
100.
And for me, it's been a reminder that these conversations shouldn't only happen when I'm older. Building good financial habits, understanding your responsibilities, and planning ahead starts much earlier than I thought.
Well, I'm not ready for retirement just yet, but I do like the idea of having a checklist and a plan. At least now I understand why it's important to know where things are and to think about the future before it becomes urgent.
That's all we can ask for as parents. Different lessons for different life stages, but at the same time, a message for all of us. Be prepared, stay informed, and don't leave important conversations for another day.
Well said. Don't wait for a crisis to start talking about money, planning, and protecting. The best time to have these conversations is before they're actually needed. Well, family, thank you for the conversation. We will now move into the Q&A session. Please continue to share your questions in the chat, and let's continue the conversation. I'm going to just reach out to see the questions that we've received. So the first question that I'm going to ask, Sergio, I'll like you to respond to this one.
Sure.
If I change jobs, what are my options for my retirement savings?
Members have options such as preserving their savings in fund as a paid up member. Transferring to a new employer's fund or retirement annuity is an option for those who want to continue contributing to the fund. Taking a cash withdrawal subject to the two-part legislation is also an option. The best option depends on individual circumstances. Understanding the long-term impact on retirement savings is ultimately the most important. Therefore, we encourage members to seek financial advice before making any big financial decisions.
Thank you, Sergio. That's a very detailed response. Thank you. The next question, how do I know if I'm on track for retirement? Chanel, do you want to take that question?
I can. So, Sanlam provides a retirement calculator and the age of confidence calculator on both the member portal and the member app. So, these tools can help you estimate whether your current savings, contributions, and retirement age are likely to provide the income you need in retirement. While these calculators provide a useful indication of your retirement readiness, they are based on assumptions and may not take your full financial situation into an account. For a comprehensive assessment, consider consulting a financial advisor.
Thank you, Chanel. The next question that I'm going to ask is about beneficiary nomination. What happens if I never made a beneficiary nomination? Monique, I think you should take that one for us.
Thank you. If you do not complete a beneficiary nomination form, it may make the process to identify and tracing your dependents and beneficiaries more difficult and could delay the distribution of benefits. For benefits payable from the Sanlam Umbrella Fund, the trustees are legally responsible for identifying your dependents and determining a fair allocation of benefits in accordance with the Pension Funds Act. While the trustees consider the nomination form, they are not bound by it and must make all known dependents into account. For unapproved group life cover, the benefit may be paid to your estate in the absence of a beneficiary nomination form, as it is generally paid according to your beneficiary nomination.
Thank you, Monique. Very detailed response. Thank you for that. I'm going to ask about 2 more questions, and then we can then close off the question session. What happens if my beneficiary nomination form and my will differs? I'm going to give this to Evan because I believe that he's got a will in place. Let's start with that question. Do you have a will in place,
I would
Evan?
hope so.
You should definitely know this. But I think take a step on this one. What happens if my beneficiary nomination and my will differs?
Thank you. Let me put you guys at ease. Yes, my will is updated. Let me try to answer. A beneficiary nomination form and a will serve different purposes and are governed by different legal rules. Your will sets out how your assets in your estate should be distributed after you have passed and is administered by an executor of your estate. It typically deals with assets such as property, investment, personal belongings, and any other assets that form part of your estate. A beneficiary nomination form, on the other hand, is used to inform the fund trustees and insurer of your wishes regarding your benefits when you're no longer alive. For the benefits payable from the Sanlam Umbrella Fund, the trustees have a legal duty under the Pension Fund Act to identify your dependents and allocate the benefits fairly. While they will consider your beneficiary nomination forms and other provisions in your will, they will not be bound by either document when distributing approved death benefits.
Thank you. I'm sure that really answers it. Couldn't have said it better myself. The next question, can an ex-spouse receive part of my retirement benefits in the event of death if they are not removed from my nomination? And I'm going to ask you, since you didn't update your beneficiary nomination for a while after marrying me, so please, sir, do the honors.
I think I must clear my name again. My dear wife, you don't have to worry. Everything is updated. But to answer the question, yes, an ex-spouse may still be considered when your death benefits are distributed if they remain on your beneficiary nomination form. However, the outcome depends on the type of benefits being paid and the legal rules that apply to that benefit. For approved benefits, the trustees will consider factors such as financial dependency, maintenance obligations, and the needs of any other dependent before making a final allocation. For unapproved benefit, such as unapproved group life, the nomination form generally determines who will receive the benefit. If an ex-spouse remains listed on the nomination form at the time of your passing, they may receive the allocated portion of the benefit, even if you are no longer married.
And that's the dangerous part, eh? I'll end the questions here, but please do continue submitting your questions. We will respond to any unanswered questions post the event. Before we end our session, I would like to remind you to download and register for the Sanlam Portfolio app and the member portal, which is free of charge to all members of the Sanlam Umbrella Fund. What these 2 platforms provide is direct access to valuable information and insights where you can view your full portfolio of benefits across Sanlam, laid out in a user-friendly format. You will also have a view of the current retirement savings and your group risk benefits. In the meantime, take a moment to scan the QR code to download the app. If you need more information on how to register or navigate the app and the portal, please visit the Sanlam Knowledge Base website to view previous Imali Zam webinars that will assist you with this. Should you require further assistance, you can contact our retirement benefits counselors or the member contact center team using the details provided on your screen. They will be able to assist with registration, portal access, and general inquiries related to your retirement fund benefits. So to everyone who joined us today, thank you for being part of our family meeting. We hope you've taken at least one action that will help you and your loved ones become a little more prepared for tomorrow. Thank you, family, for joining me. Let's start protecting today so we can plan confidently for the future. Until next time.